What's going on, everyone? So, the Boston Celtics winning the NBA championship obviously is frustrating and it hurts, right? I mean, they broke the tie. They officially are the most winning NBA team in league history. Lakers, hopefully, this lights a fire under them. Hopefully, this puts the Lakers in a position where it's like, okay, we need to get that back, right? We need to get our leg back, right? Hopefully. But one of the things that I think Boston really highlighted is something that I've talked about heavily in going and trying to get that third star, trying to get that front end talent. Because, like, you look at the Boston Celtics, right? They had the best front end talent in the league. They were the best team in the league all year, even through injuries and stuff like that, because they had so much talent in the front end that they were able to weather those injuries to like Kristaps. I mean, they basically didn't have Kristaps for pretty much the entire playoffs, and they were still able to basically run through the rest of the league because their front end talent was so good. Now, obviously, there's very specific circumstances that went into what Boston did. The new CBA hadn't kicked in, and now makes things more difficult. But if you're the Lakers, I think you can go after guys and kind of try to, maybe you can't do 5 fronting guys, but can you get like 3, stars and then, 2 like just blue chip rotation guys and then like 1, kind of like mid-tier guy, something. To me, I like the idea of going after, like, can you get a Dejounte Murray? It doesn't even have to necessarily be super duper star, right? Perfect world, obviously you get Donovan Mitchell, but even if you could get, like a Dejounte Murray, or I don't hate the idea of like a Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso, right? To kind of get that front end talent, because we saw all playoffs. The only team it didn't impact was Boston. But you saw in the Western Conference, right? Lakers look great. Their role guys don't show up in the playoffs, right? All season, right? The inconsistencies were definitely a concern, but it was like, okay, D'Lo, if he has a better playoffs, Reeves, Rui's been killing it. Like, okay, let's go. This new starting 5 is X, Y, and Z. We get in, we're the role guys. Rui might as well not even have played. Austin Reeves didn't really show up till the 4th game. At that point, it was too late. D'Lo was good, 1.5, 2 games. And our role guys didn't show up. Denver's did, and Denver won. But then what happened to Denver in the Minnesota series? Denver's role players didn't show up. Where was Michael Porter Jr.? I mean, you had Mike Malone had to come out and defend Michael Porter Jr., right? Like, where was he? Where was Jamal Murray, right? KCP, Aaron Gordon. Their role guys didn't show up. And what happened? They ended up going home. Minnesota's did. They go and they play Dallas. Dallas's role players show up, right? Minnesota's doesn't. What happens? Dallas wins. They go and they play Boston. And outside of Luka, game 1 and 2, where was everybody else? Kyrie had terrible 2 games, and the role guys didn't show up, right? So to me, it's like, instead of having to rely on role guys who are they're role guys. They're inconsistent. That's why they're role guys, right? If they were consistent enough, they'd be stars or all-stars, right? But to me, it's like, if you can get that consistent third guy, right, to where now you have, if LeBron has a bad game, you have somebody that can handle the workload. If Anthony Davis has a bad game, you have somebody that can handle the workload, right? That guys, even on a bad night, right? Like, you look at somebody like a Dejounte Murray, or even Trae. Let's say Trae Young, right? I have my reservations about Trae. I have my concerns with Trae, right? But even Trae on a bad night is night and day better than like a D'Lo on a bad night. D'Lo on a bad night is like 1 of 11 and giving you 2 points. Trae on a bad night, at least go get you 15 to 20, right? Like, so, and he'll dish out, 10 assists and stuff like that. Like, to me, it's just, Boston showed that the front end talent is still very prevalent, right? Again, it has to be the right pieces, and it has to mesh, and it has to make sense. You can't just put a bunch of names on a roster, which is why I have like my concerns with Trae. I think the upside with Trae, and I get Trae would be more of an Anthony Davis and future move than it would be right now. But my biggest concern is him alongside LeBron, right? How does that work? But somebody like a Dejounte Murray, I think he may be able to impact a little better. I think he may, obviously a Donovan Mitchell, I think makes all the sense in the world. And then you have your depth behind your kind of front end guys. Now, again, even if the Lakers were to go and trade for a Trae Young, right? Like, you would still have 7 or 8 guys right now, and that's not counting free agency. So I'm not really worried about the depth in the sense of like, oh, well, now, because people are like, oh, it's another Westbrook situation. First off, it's not anywhere close to that, because even if you were to get a guy like Trae, and again, I understand most people don't want Trae. Again, I have my reservations with Trae, but he's not Russell Westbrook, right? He can shoot. He's not super efficient, but he can shoot. I mean, 2 seasons ago, he shot like 56% from catch and shoot threes. It might have even been higher than that, right? It's like a made up number, right? But he really did it, right? If he get back to that playing alongside LeBron and AD, then like, watch out. But my thing is that, like, you got to get somebody that properly fits. And as far as the back end depth, I believe that the Lakers would still have enough to flush it out, right? So let's say you go get that other star, right? Obviously, that helps Anthony Davis in the long term, right? Whoever that other is. I actually think, I have my kind of pecking order of like who I want. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell's number 1, but I think that's very, not completely unrealistic, but I think it's a long shot, right? Unless Donovan Mitchell pulls an Anthony Davis and it's like, I only want to go to the Lakers, then I don't think it happens. So, he's kind of not on, he's like off to the side of the list, if that makes sense. But I actually do like the idea. I think Dejounte Murray makes the most sense, because you go get Dejounte Murray and still have flexibility to do other things. So Dejounte Murray might be my favorite option up there. And then he also makes sense long-term alongside Anthony Davis, and you kind of put other pieces around him. After that, the more that I think about it, the more I kind of like the Zach LaVine move. If you can get Alex Caruso, only if you can get Alex Caruso, right? But if you can do something like that, like let's just use Zach LaVine as an example and Alex Caruso, right? Now you have basically, the only way it'd really work is if D'Lo opted in. So let's say D'Lo opts in, say best case scenario, everything works out, right? So you're basically trading D'Lo, we're probably giving up D'Lo, Reeves. Well, you could keep Reeves or Vando. I would rather keep Vando, especially if you have Caruso and Zach LaVine. I just think you have enough shooting and offense. But it's the Lakers. They're going to keep Austin Reeves, if we're being honest. And you're doing Chicago a favor with Zach LaVine. So to me, it's like, okay, if you could do something like that, you would have LeBron, AD, Zach LaVine, Austin Reeves, Alex Caruso, right? That's basically your starting 5. You would have traded Rui, you would have traded D'Lo, you would have traded Jared Vanderbilt, and you would have traded Gabe Vincent, okay? So you basically have 4 for 2. You still, after that starting 5, you could, and this is not counting free agent, where you maybe go get a Chris Paul or a Valanciunas or something like that. Just who we'd currently have. Still have Max Christie, you still have Christian Wood, you still have Maxwell Lewis. You'd still have basically all your picks, so you could probably still keep the 17th pick. Let's say you go get a Zach Edey. So now you have a Zach Edey, so maybe you don't even need a Valanciunas. Maybe you go get somebody else, right? Maybe you go get a Royce O'Neal or something, right? Like now, I mean, you're good. You're fine. You have plenty of depth. You have plenty of talent. You have plenty of everything, right? But you have a little more front-end talent to weather those bad games that the role players would have. And then even, again, when one of your stars has a bad game, it's not as impactful. Where, like, if Anthony Davis doesn't show up for a game, you're losing that game, right? Or if LeBron doesn't show up for a game, you're losing that game. To me, I'd rather go get those guys. And, the obviously the concern, like, the reason depth is great is for an 82-game season. Because once you get to the playoffs, even if you are 15 deep, you're not running 15 players, right? You're only running 7 or 8 anyway. But I think if you have enough front-end talent like Boston showed you, you're fine, right? If you have enough front-end talent, like, if Anthony Davis misses a week or, 2 weeks, knock on wood, right? Or LeBron misses a week or 2 weeks, knock on wood, you still have enough front-end talent to win games. Where you saw, even with LeBron and AD at times, we couldn't win games because the role guys weren't consistent enough. And we had this inconsistency. Right? The beauty of role guys, or the beauty of stars, is their consistency. Right? So to have a guy that can consistently night in and night out give you production, and you don't have to wonder like, oh man, is he going to drop 30 tonight, or is he going to drop, 2 or 3, right? It's like, no, you go even like a guy like Dejounte Murray. On a bad night, he's still giving you 15. He's still giving you 7 rebounds and 6 assists, right? He's still impacting the game in other ways. So to me, the more that I just think about it and break it down and kind of was looking at the landscape of these playoffs, none of these teams that advanced far were deep. Denver wasn't deep, right? Minnesota wasn't that deep. Dallas wasn't that deep. Like, all these teams were only running 7 guys. Boston was not deep. I know Pritchard and stuff like that, they had good moments and stepped up, but for the most part, they were running 6 guys, right? Like, so to me, it's like, get the front end talent. If I'm Rob Pelinka, go get, because it not only raises the ceiling now, but it helps long term, right? It puts you in a position long term to be able to continue to remain competitive and not have to worry, okay, well, now LeBron left, so, are we going to be able to get somebody immediately, or are we going to have to wait 2 or 3 years? And at that point, Anthony Davis is, his contract's up and he's leaving, and now we're rebuilding. And it's like, to me, I'd rather, if you get, even if you get a guy like Trae, obviously if it works, good luck, right? Even if it is a little clunky and a little weird, right? You still have the long-term potential, right? And it's like, who are you going to get that's that much more impactful, right? Because the problem is that, like, are the Lakers good enough now, right? As they are currently constructed, are they good enough if you just go get, 1 or 2 role guys, right? And it's like, is D'Lo and Reeves and LeBron 80, and there's questions like, can LeBron still? He's still an excellent talent. He's still a top, at worst 12, 13 guy in the league, right? But can he carry you when you need him to, like most stars can, right? Like, we saw numerous times during the regular season, him just gassed. We saw in that Denver series, he was gassed. I mean, all those games were close. It was like, man, LeBron, this is your time. And he couldn't close it out. So, but if you had a Trae, or you had a Dejounte, or you had, another star, could they have been able to do that? Could they have been able to hit some big shots for you? Get some guys that aren't afraid of the moment, right? I don't know. It's a question that I keep toying with, and I just think Boston further solidified going with the 3rd star route. I think that that's the best course, right? I mean, obviously it'd be great to kind of get back to the 2020 roster to where you just have, a bunch of sizable wings and depth and talent, and it's just like, wow, this team is ridiculous. But that's really hard to put together when you don't already have the majority of the pieces. You can remember the Lakers put that together over years, right? And like hitting on the draft and stuff, like with Kuz. But like, they already had KCP and were able to keep him around. Already had Caruso, were able to keep him around, right? And then they added, Danny Green, and then they added, LeBron James, and traded for Anthony Davis. It's just, it wasn't something that they were able to do all in one offseason, right? So to me, it's like, you're not going to be able to necessarily, and everybody wants those type of guys. Like, everybody wants an Alex Caruso, but not everyone wants a Zach LaVine. So can you use Zach LaVine as leverage to get you Alex Caruso? So anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think, no, you got to go the depth route? Do you think, no, get the right piece? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.